In the UK, 1,500 plus white people were arrested in connection with the understandable social unrest which followed the July 29th Southport massacre of 3 little girls by a 17-year-old boy of Rwandan descent named XwdANczPMNsvzVIN. It brought attention to the reality of mass immigration to the forefront in a very big way. One of the people jailed for speaking out against a little girl killer was Lucy Connolly, 42, English. She's the wife of a conservative counselor, Ray Connolly. She was thrown into prison 8 days after an X post in which she was charged for inciting racial hatred. 8 days after the Southport stabbing. The post read, "Mass deportation now, set fire to all the effing hotels full of the, I'm not sure what, bodies for all I care. While you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them. I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure. If that makes me racist, so be it." Okay, well, this is nothing. This is nothing, especially compared to what leftists say. Slit their throats, kill them, hang them in the streets. And it's nothing compared to the terrorism, murder, rape, and actual violence Europeans deal with since mass immigration. Well, she decided to delete it 4 hours later, but it didn't matter. The police showed up 8 days later, hauled her off, and threw her in jail. Lucy's lawyer she was given was a young, inexperienced duty solicitor who didn't seem to care much, according to her, and the police investigators twisted her words. Not actions, words. She became the poster girl for Starmer's two-tier justice system, pledging to impose heavy sentences on far-right thugs, as he called them. So she's one of those far-right thugs. She was given a 2-year sentence above and beyond the norm. As an example to others, you do not say anything bad about non-European immigrants, even after they commit mass murder. No bail, no release on temporary license to see her family, even though she was eligible. Meanwhile, her fellow jailmates, who she said include drug dealers, thieves, murderers, someone who even killed their parents, were granted home detention curfews. She says, "Why are people more concerned by my political views than by the actual murder of 3 little girls?" demanded Lucy in one of her final tweets. Because, Lucy, you live in a system of anti-white tyranny. They want you replaced, they want you gone, and they view white racists more deadly than actual killers. The suffering of white people is nothing to them. I saw in this long article talking about Lucy, they go way out of their way to prove how she's not really a racist, how she took care of numerous non-white toddlers, and her mother raised her to abhor racism. Blah, blah. As if you need a disclaimer to stand up for your own people who are being systematically replaced, genocided, and killed through acts of terrorism. She doesn't need to say, "I reacted in grief." No, you reacted in truth. The article even mentioned how the young duty solicitor commissioned a psychiatric report to show how she wasn't in her right state of mind during the X post. But the psychiatrist didn't ask about her infant who died as a result of failures in NHS care, however. Yes, that's horrible, but none of this is relevant to the fact that a black teen murdered little girls. A teen who was only in the country because of mass immigration, and we see this time and time again in Europe. Little white girls being targeted by groomers and or getting murdered is secondary to words criticizing rapists and murderers, secondary to X posts. Let's remember some other good white folks that were put in jail longer than terrorists, murderers, and rapists. Here we go. Ex-boxer jailed for racially offensive posts, talking about young white girls being raped by grooming gangs. Yeah. British patriot jailed for 3 years for supporting anti-immigration posts on X. Yeah, by judge who previously spared a pedophile. This happened a lot. We saw this a lot. A lot of these right-wing thugs who were calling out rapists and murderers jailed longer than pedophiles. Yeah, they're awful. So Lucy got more jail time for this X post than this Mohammed guy who sprayed petrol on 2 people and set them on fire. He got a hospital order for his mental health. Yeah, and here's another one. A Muslim man who sexually assaulted 3 white women at a hotel spa avoided jail time. But Lucy in jail for a post that she deleted because she felt bad about. Here's another one. Cameron Bell, 23, a care worker who live streamed the Southport riots on TikTok, jailed for 9 months And then here's a pedophile who distributed 1,000 horrible images and videos, walks free. Here's another one. 18-year-old white kid jailed for 2 months for protesting. And another 18-year-old, a black one, who spent just 6 months in jail for manslaughter of a 14-year-old boy. This is your two-tier justice system in the UK. And then here's more. Here's white guys put in jail for the Southport riots, as they called them, protests. Meanwhile, pedophiles go free. I mean, we can go on and on with these. People who kill and commit real crimes and terrorism and violence get light sentences or walk free. And in this case, they can fundraise, no problem. Here's Carmelo, the guy who stabbed the 17-year-old white kid in the heart when he said, hey, you're sitting in the wrong area. There's a fund for him, and he's raising, he's raised $185,000? This is insane. And of course, Black Twitter, liberal Twitter, they're all saying that the killing was justified because Kyle Rittenhouse was actually attacked and surrounded and beat up and had guns and knives and skateboards thrown at him. But no, it's totally the same thing. Carmelo just stabbing someone in the heart because they said, hey, you're not sitting in the right area. This is the two-tier justice system.
And the same thing is happening in Germany, obviously. This is even more absurd in a way. It was a guy who was given 7 months on probation. Apparently they denied him. He was seeking to not actually get jail time or whatnot. But he'd done a meme, this guy. He held up a plaque that said regarding the, I forget what position she's in now, she interior minister, I forget what she is, Nancy Faeser. We've talked about her in the past. In German there, it says, I hate freedom of speech. So he got 7 months probation for that. District court sentences Deutschland courier boss for Faeser montage. That's all it is. And remember, these are the very same people now that said the new coalition in Germany, they want to ban lies. The deliberate dissemination of false factual claims is not covered by freedom of expression. Well, if that's the case, who lies more, right? The state or individuals, right? Those who hate the truth always lie, of course.
But there's another issue at play here. Disgustingly, defence solicitors did the government's bidding when so many of these people were being arrested. And I've got first-hand knowledge of this because a friend of mine's son got arrested at the protest in Westminster and he was held in custody, remanded in custody, all the while whilst a duty solicitor who is supposed to represent their client and act in their best interests was persuading this young man to plead guilty. Guilty to an offence which was later slung out at the Inner London Crown Court, and I was there when the judge dismissed it. I wonder how many other people were entirely innocent and yet were coerced, bullied, persuaded to plead guilty by people who call themselves solicitors, legal representatives. Shame on any of those who did Starmer's bidding.
It's such a great point. Lucy mentions it. Her husband talks about it in the Telegraph. She should have pled not guilty and gone to trial because lots of legal experts have told Alison Pearson you would have got off on jury. They would have taken the PTSD into account. They would have taken all the background into account. But she feels like she was bounced into pleading guilty because she thought she'd be home for Christmas.
And there was one quote that stood out for Alison Pearson in the entire interview, and that was Lucy Connolly had to actually pretend to be someone she was not.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with pleading guilty. She took some advice. It was the wrong advice. She should have pled not guilty. But above all of that, she could be let out now. There would be nothing to stop releasing her now.
This was a preview of our latest Western Warrior exclusive members show. Watch the whole show at redicemembers.com. Sign up, get access to all our exclusive members content. We have an archive of thousands of shows, interviews, and videos. You can also sign up for a membership at odyssey.com/@redicetv or subscribestar.com/redice. Go to redicemembers.com.